just like communism, just like fascism, just like Nazism, Islam is a threat to anything that we stand for. It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our constitutional state. It's a threat to the equality for men and women, for freedom and for civilization. Wherever you look in the world, there is one rule. The more Islam you see, the less freedom you see. Islam is a threat to the Europe of Bach and Michelangelo, to the Europe of Shakespeare and Socrates, of Voltaire and Galileo. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say something about one country in the West that has been forced to fight for our values since its very first day of existence. And that is the canary in the coal mine, the country that is called Israel. Let me say a few words about this wonderful country. Like Bosnia, like Kosovo, like Nigeria, like the Sudan, like the Caucasus, like Kashmir, southern Thailand, western China, the south of the Philippines, Israel is exactly situated on the dividing line between the Dar al-Islam, the Islamic world, and the Dar al-Harb, the non-Islamic world. And it is no coincidence that in any place I just mentioned, there is a precise line dividing where blood is flowing, in all those places. All those conflicts have to do with the Islamic jihad, in the spirit of the barbarian called Muhammad. And Islam forces Israel to fight. The so-called Middle East conflict, the so-called conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis, is not at all a conflict about land. It's not about some inches of land in Gaza, Judea, or Samaria. It's a conflict about ideology and nothing else. It's a battle between freedom and Islam. It's a battle between good and evil. To Islam, ladies and gentlemen, the whole of Israel, whether it's Jerusalem, Haifa, or Ashdod, it's all occupied territory. To Islam, they are all settlements. So I believe we should not see the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a conflict of territory, but a conflict of ideology. And therefore, we should all support Israel, because the jihad against Israel is a jihad against us all. It's a jihad against freedom. I'm very much in favor, though, of a two-state solution. It might surprise you, but I am. One Jewish state called Israel and one Palestinian state called Jordan. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever in the world Islam and cultural relativism advocated by the Sharia socialists of our societies, wherever they come together, freedom of expression, freedom in general, is threatened. In Europe, in particular, freedom of expression is at risk. As you may know, indeed, I am being prosecuted in the Netherlands for expressing my opinion, while I was barred and banned from the United Kingdom for the same reason. But of course, it's not about me. The whole matter of freedom is not about me. There is an ongoing jihad against free speech in the whole of Europe. In Austria, for example, a lady politician was prosecuted and sentenced for having spoken the truth about Muhammad. The truth, mind you. We had, as you know as better as anybody else, the Danish cartoon crisis. We had the threats to and the killing of so many brave people, like Salman Rushdie, like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, like my own countrymen Pim Fortuyn and Theo van Gogh, like Oriana Fallaci, and like, of course, the real hero of today, Wafa Sultan. All those people threaten the consequences of the lack of freedom and the growing of Islam. In my own country, the Netherlands, a cartoonist who also makes some critical cartoons, like your own countryman Kurt Westergaard did, was arrested by no fewer than 10 policemen from his home. I believe Lassie also gave a speech here not so long ago. I could go on and on what is happening in Europe, but I won't, because it will make you sick. Ladies and gentlemen, I strongly suggest that we should defend freedom of speech with all our heart and all our strength. Free speech is the most important of all our civil liberties. Free speech is the cornerstone of our free modern societies. Without free speech, there is no democracy. With Sharia, there is no democracy. And we have an obligation. We have an obligation. Everybody here present has an obligation to fight for the preservation of free speech, to fight for the heritage of the British Magna Charta, of the French Declaration of Human Rights, and to the American Bill of Rights. We should all fight for that. I have a few proposals. My first proposal would be that we should boycott and do nothing else. Boycott the UN Human Rights Council. It's a terrible council which annually comes together and only adopts resolutions that are not only anti-Semitic, but also attempt to kill the free speech and to kill the concept of human rights. And let there be no mistake about it. The United Nations Human Rights Council itself, as an institution, is a threat to free speech in the West. I also propose that we, in our European countries like Denmark, like Holland, we repeal and get rid of all the hate speech laws in our countries. These laws today only enable radical Muslims to silence all those that are critical on Islam. Free speech should be extended in our societies instead of restricted. We should consider laws comparable with the American First Amendment. Unfortunately, however, if we really wish to combat the Islamization of our societies, the Islamization of Europe, we will have to do more. And let me mention a few things. First, we have to end all forms of cultural relativism. For this purpose, we need an amendment to our constitutions stating that our European cultural foundation is based on humanism, is based on the Judeo-Christian values. And all to those cultural relativists, to all those Sharia socialists, I like it to call them like that, I'm sorry, I would proudly say our Western culture, and I'm proud to say it, our Western culture is superior to the Islamic culture. And don't be afraid to say it. Or to quote my dear friend Wafa Sultan, when she spoke about the different cultures, the Western culture and the Islamic culture, she said, and she's fully right, it's not a clash between civilizations, it's a clash between reason and barbarity. Second, I believe we have to stop the mass immigration from Muslim countries. No more immigrants from Muslim countries. Not one anymore. We could also promote the voluntary repatriation of people back to their home countries. And thirdly, very important, I don't understand why it hasn't happened, at least in my country, we have to be tough to criminals. We have to expel criminal foreigners. Even if we have to denaturalize them, then have to strip them for their nationality. And that is why I have a clear message, a very clear message to all the Muslims that are in our societies today. If you subscribe to our laws, if you subscribe to our values, if you subscribe to our constitution, you are welcome to stay. You are equal as anybody else, and we will even help you to assimilate in our societies. But if you cross a red line, if you become a criminal, if you start thinking or acting according to jihad or Sharia, we will have no mercy. We will send you packing the same day, and you will have to leave our society.